the basis of my my slides this evening, and also to talk about my own journey, in the entire course of my career so far. And I hope that, in a way, it helps to spark or inspire one or two persons. And yeah, looking really forward to the questions at the end, because for me, that is really the basis for having this exchange. So I would move now into more or less a general outline. And general outline is going to cut across maybe 4 areas. And these 4 areas, I would say, in the course of my career trajectory, I've been able to, leverage on some of these nuggets, as I would like to put it, and they have helped or prepared me for where I am today. And maybe also a disclaimer: we are all work in progress. Nobody is a finished product here. And whatever we are today purely is by the grace of God. So there's always a God factor there. However, there's also a place where we as individuals need to either be in the right place at the right time, or be under certain level of leadership that helps us to, easily find or navigate our paths. So I'm looking at this overview in four major areas. Our undergraduate days, and as I mentioned earlier, I understood, we have different, profiles of people, either mentees or mentors in this session. So I believe we would have some good initiative in that area of laying the foundation, which is the undergraduate days. Immediately after you are graduating from school, your early career years into the professional environment, the mid-career year, and then the senior professional life or category. So I would want to say I am, by the grace of God, in that mid to senior professional category. So some of the things that have helped me to move to this area, I would like to share with you. And in each of these major pillars, I think there's going to be like a storyline, so beyond just the slide, beyond just the tips, it's also important for you to be able to understand, okay, what did you do in particular? Sometimes when you are doing an interview and you are being asked, what role did you play? It is not about the role the team played. It is the role that you played, to enable the team to be able to succeed in that particular instance. So what helped me, I would like to share with you. Perhaps, again, that could inspire one or two signals in your own side. So my profile has been shared earlier, and I want to thank the moderator for doing a fantastic job. At some point, I was also taken aback. Is this my profile that they are reading? Because I think they were able to really help to put it in a very, very, very humbling way. But speaking now and going into some details. So I have been working with Bosch. So Bosch is a multinational organization headquartered in Germany, and the company was founded in 1886. And we are more or less into consumer goods. We are into automotive aftermarket. We are into industry. It's really an engineering organization that is also very, very strong in measuring its rate of success in, the level of innovations, Internet of Things, connectivity. Bosch likes to be in the forefront of technological innovations. And within the Bosch environment, which I would say has formed most of my professional career years, I've spent close to 10 years there. And I started my journey in Bosch in 2015. And yeah, through an industrial program that I would also emphasize later on. But the major point here is that bulk of my professional years has been spent within the Bosch. And this has really formed me, because I've moved from different roles, different locations, and helped me to really form my own development. My educational background was listed in a bit of more details here, because I wouldn't use this in regular maybe forums, or I would mostly stop maybe at Ahmadu Bello University. But I don't know if there are some people that are here are in polytechnics or even universities. And the reason why I place this here is really to encourage us that it really does not matter where you are in your own development or in your own educational achievement. Um, there is nothing, I mean, of course, physically speaking, financially speaking, there is a lot of limitations and constraints. But I started my education from the Polytechnic in Owo. And by the grace of God, I am, finalizing my PhD mostly by next year. And the message here is that your educational background is not a limiting factor for you to, want to aspire to either break boundaries or aspire to want to be better than where you are right now. So irrespective of where you are, first, second level degree, and even in Polytechnic, I think it is just about finding yourself in the right place under the right tutelage. There would always be opportunity for you to be able to break boundaries through that. So I hope that helps in a way. So now going into maybe the main focus of the session, which is sharing some nuggets on how to succeed in a global marketplace. Global marketplace, because the world is changing. Everything is now, happening at a very, very fast speed. And if you are not ready to take advantage of some of the developments in the marketplace, you might become obsolete. If you have maybe graduated 2-3 years ago, the question would now be, okay, after your graduation, what is the next thing that you are going to do? So there's a lot of things that are changing, and it is really, really important for us to be able to ensure that we are already positioning ourselves for very good opportunities that are taking place in the future. It is not, it is not 2 months into when you are looking for a job that you already start preparing yourself. You need to start, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. You need to be able to, we use the terminology forecast. You need to forecast where you want to be in the next few years. And it is good that you are able to also document things, because undergraduate days, which is where I'm going to start from now, is really a place where we are all laying the foundation. And I'm pretty sure quite a number of us, went through this phase in our early years. These are the formation years. These are the years that, you take on a lot. It's like a sponge. You are being dipped into the water, and then, once you take it out, you see a lot of, drops coming from different angles. This is the phase where you immerse yourself with as much information as possible. They say some people, and they go through school, the school did not go through them. So while education is, while our undergraduate days is employed, it's very, very important, because this is a place where we explore. You are just like a crude. You are not yet a refined product, because you are going through a lot of metamorphoses that you yourself do not know. I studied banking and finance. I am not in the banking, finance, or financial sector right now. Though in my previous early career years, I did 1 or 2 things there. However, I would say that some of the skills that I learned there are also helping me now. So there's a place for you to be able to improve your skills, learn as much as you can. But it is not just about the 4 walls of the university. It's not just about bagging your first degree, having a 2-1, having a first class, or even having a 2-2. It's beyond that. And why? Because, as I mentioned, it's a place for you to discover yourself. Then there are several platforms or several institutions or organizations that helps you to do that. It's not a waste of time. I wasn't part of Rotary. Rotary is one of them, as you can see in my screen. There's JCI, there's SIFE. I was part of SIFE. And why I indicated SIFE here, I think SIFE is now Enactus. Maybe there's a change in their naming. But I was part of SIFE then. And for me, SIFE was a great platform for me to be able to start nurturing myself. We were engaged in different business cases. We were engaged in competition across different universities in Nigeria. We traveled to Ife. I can't remember we also engage in a lot of community activities where we would try to identify problems in our community, try to come up with solutions, try to challenge the business cases and the likes. And I'm still doing something related to business case even till now. Is there a direct link? I really cannot confirm because, of course, we are talking about two different realities now. But again, it's about laying the foundation. Already having those kind of mindsets that, okay, you need to be able to be productive. It is not only about, and there are different ways of being productive. Entrepreneurship is one. Entrepreneurship is another. Uh, Maybe credits to my wife, who is a very, very great entrepreneur. I don't sell things, but to put me in an organization, I would help you to be able to multiply the return on investment in that organization. So there are different ways that can also help to identify what exactly, are you tilting towards. Sife, again, for me, was a commercial enterprise that helped me to be able to, bring out, I would say, those commercial acumen in me. And it is not only about that maybe competition and business ideas. It's also a platform for you to also be able to, one, build networks that is outside your immediate community. So while I was on Sife, I had the opportunity, to represent, I think one of the people, I don't know, I can't confirm the exact number, but I represented Ondo State because I studied in Adekunle Ajayi University, and I represented Ondo State in a competition in Ghana. This was 2006. And for me, it was a big deal because I was the only one from the SIFE organization, one of the only one in Nigeria. And beyond that, I was able to already identify, not placements, but be able to mirror yourself, because life is not a walk in the park. There is nothing that you are doing today that somebody else has not done before. No, except you have not searched properly. But you are able to mirror yourself to the development that is taking place in other people's life. And then you are able to challenge yourself. You're not competing against anyone. But you cannot also just give yourself a target that is a walk in the park. So for me, that exposed me to be able to say, okay, these are the people that, beyond just school now, we went to Ghana together, we're able to compete in this competition together, fantastic opportunity to also be able to net. Some of those network I still keep till now, actually. And, with that, I'm able to also say, okay, this is the path that they are moving towards. This is the path that I am moving towards, just to avoid a situation where you're not a local champion. So the main point that I would like to leave with you on this slide would be to ensure that while in school, again, when you are going through the four walls of the university, also allow the four walls of the university to go through you by being intentional about the kind of exposition that you avail yourself with. Of course, you need to be curious. You need to be able to use this platform to be able to discover different things about yourself. Try to also ensure that you are not only keeping your network just within the four walls of the university, but also outside the university, so that you are able to, benchmark some level of development that you are accruing for yourself, as you develop in your journey. So this will be maybe my main message for the first slide. So after the first phase, which is trying to explore the four walls of the university, getting a very good grade. It's always good to have a very good grade. It's always recommended. At least you open the door. Good grades open the door for you. And then it is now the content, because there are so many people that have 2-1, so many people have first class. Yes, first class, a lot of people do have first class. But having 2-2, 2-1, 2 is not the ultimate. This doesn't automatically translate to you getting the job. You still need to sell yourself. So a fantastic grade would enable you open the door. Now, the contents that you have, the exposure that you had while you were in school, the kind of networking abilities, entrepreneurial development that you avail yourself in school, either being an entrepreneur or entrepreneur. Now, gives you that content that you have to be able to walk through the door. So please, if there's anything that you are living with, please ensure that you are leveraging all the opportunities that you have in school, both from an academic point of view and maybe extracurricular activities point of view. Okay. Now, after graduating from university, you had a fantastic grade. You're now moving into the job market. Okay. And please don't forget, our ultimate goal is having that global mindset, making yourself a good candidate to be able to leverage on opportunities in the global marketplace. Okay. But now you are finished from the university, you are trying to now find your fitting. And this is a very, very pivotal period because for me, I didn't find it so easy. Trying to also be very, very up and personal with you. I didn't find it easy. I had my NYSC in Fidelity Bank after I redeployed from Sokoto. It was a great opportunity for me to also be able to make a lot of money. I made a lot of money. And above that, I was already, in my, I would say, industry, because I did banking and finance in school. I was already working in Fidelity Bank. So it was looking like it, but unfortunately, fortunately, I didn't pass the entry exam into being converted into a management trainee after my my NYSC. That broke me, of course. But I would say, well, it's good. Maybe I may not be in this capacity today, maybe in a different capacity. I really cannot confirm. But I didn't stop there. And I didn't now say, oh, because I studied finance, I must work in a bank or go to central bank. No, it's not that easy. And I'm pretty sure quite a number of it is not to, management training job like that. Aside from the fact that age is a factor, it's also quite highly competitive. But what I did was to get a job as a call center rep. It is totally different. It's a telecoms industry, 100% detached. But I'm glad that I did it. And that's the message that I also try to pass across here, because these are jobs that would help you to be able to, further establish your own fitting. Two things. If you are able to find a job, maybe in your industry or where you have great passion for, it's really, really good. You have to go through that line, But I would say in most cases, it is not always like that. Sometimes you have to pivot to be able to reposition yourself. And for me, that was what happened, because I did not get a job in the banking industry, and then I moved out, and I started working as a call center representative. If I look back in retrospect, I think it's also not a bad option, because one, I didn't have any other option. Let's be candid. Let's be also factual. I needed to also move away from my parents and then start making some money. So any job at that point was important. But again, it is not just any job. It is also how you are leveraging on the space of time and trying to also pick some skills, because the most important thing is that you are also not just now throwing yourself out and doing anything. You need to also be able to now build a formation. Build a formation in the sense that there is no experience that is irrelevant, most especially maybe in a working environment. You need to understand organizational politics. You need to be able to understand and respect hierarchy. You need to be able to build etiquettes, office etiquettes, when you are talking to customers, when you are trying to escalate, when you're trying to, understand one or two dynamism that is taking place in the organization. At this point, honestly, I wouldn't say you should be too picky, because if you are too picky, you would not be able to you will see opportunities that would eventually form you in future, but because you are too selective, then you will just most likely, push those things away. And then time goes by, so the most important thing here is that, just in the words of Dwayne Johnson, you need to be humble. Humble to be able to recognize the fact that, okay, maybe not what I studied in school is what I am doing right now, but it doesn't change your trajectory. You can always find yourself back. And maybe you are also in a path of a new discovery, so, but you need to still be hungry. Be hungry. You need to be able to prove yourself in the workplace. There is no skills that you are learning in a professional working environment that is a waste of time. No. All these things, one way or the other, helps you to, more or less invest in yourself. Invest in yourself, leverage on time, because time is what everybody does not have. We all have 24 hours. It is how you use it that matters. And you need to also be able to use this time to be able to gain as much hands-on experience as possible. During this phase, you are able to also evaluate, okay, what I studied in school, is this really matching what, because you have not really seen the reality. You've not really gained that practical experience. What you are doing now, is it bringing out a different spark in you? Are you seeing yourself being more jovial, more cheerful, compared to, you're just calculating how many formulas is going to make one acid and the likes. So really, this is a place where you are forming yourself. You are discovering yourself. You are trying to, build some technical competencies in certain areas that is going to now become part of your future formation. And for me, while I was in this phase of my career, I decided to go to school and, join, did a master's in business administration. I was trying to leverage on time. And, I don't think I would have that flexibility of time any longer. And it's not just about also limiting yourself to your immediate environment, because ordinarily speaking, some of the facilities that we have, sometimes you'll be surprised how it is difficult for you to print a piece of paper, or do I don't know, a photocopy. Yes, you can always go to the business center, but sometimes, and speaking quite factually, you may not have so much funds, and you need working capital to be able to sustain you. While going through this, you are able to say, okay, this makes sense for me. This doesn't make sense for me. Let me pivot if it doesn't make sense. If it does make sense, let me try and see how I can be better at it. If otherwise, if it's not making sense, then you are able to define your next path. Next part in the sense that, okay, I'm in an environment where some things are easily accessible to me, but I'm able to say, okay, I want to go to school, I want to build some professional competencies, etc., etc. For me, I think one of the things that helped me, during this course of my career, I didn't limit myself to the environment within me, because I knew for sure that, okay, this is more or less a phase in my career. Then what I did was to, look for an MBA that I told you that I did. After my MBA, I changed job actually. I changed job and started working, as an outsourced staff. And being an outsourced staff is not a crime. I worked as an outsourced staff in Stanbic, IBTC, and 9 months down the line, after applying for an MBA program for 3 years, I had the opportunity to get a full-time MBA scholarship in Athens, that's in Greece, and the name of the school is Undergraduate Business School. Emphasis is on, after 3 years of applying, and not waiting only on what is available around me, and the reason why I'm saying this is because, yes, I've already had a feel into what, going maybe into a different country could be. I am finding myself in an environment, maybe it's not looking like it, but I'm still having access to some resources that ordinarily I may struggle to do if I'm sitting in my parents' house. I have internet. I can check one or two things. I can follow up, blah, blah, blah. I can, comfortably, I know it's different now because having standard internet at home is basic, but it's also come with sustaining it, But emphasis on, one, being resilient in the sense that you're not also just limiting yourself to that environment. You're also trying to evaluate, because this is also an important phase of your career. Of course, you are gaining some skills where you are able to sustain yourself, reducing the burden on your parents, but also trying to look out in the next 3 years after doing this. Where do I see myself? Of course, you need to have those kind of conversations with yourself. And building hands-on experience, being a professional environment, I think is really, really critical. And beyond that, also trying to pivot. You need to, at some point, not just look within your own immediate vicinity. Try to also look outside. People that are having these scholarships or having opportunity to, travel abroad for one thing or the other, they don't have two heads. And it is also about some level of intentionality that you apply to it. So the message that I would like to pass across to you here would be that while you are in that early career years, which is also critical because it determines your next few years. I would say this is more or less early because you are just finishing university. 1 to 3 years is still at the early stage. You need to ensure that one, you're not too selective about what comes your way. Secondly, you are also not limiting yourself to just that alone. You are also trying to leverage, trying to look out, trying to, see where you can also properly market yourself. So that will be my message for you on the slide. Now, mid-career professional years. So here, maybe within the timeline of between 5 and 10 years. And here, this is also very, very important because you are now, I would say, you are now formed. You have been able to identify what you have been doing immediately after school. After that 3 years, you've been able to now say, okay, this makes sense for me, this doesn't make sense for me. And if it doesn't make sense for me, this is my plan B. But now the most important thing is that you're now trying to, when you are doing construction, I work in the construction industry. And there's a place where you also build pillars. There's a formwork that you do. You need to put a lot of, you need to build like an enclosure where when you are trying to do pillars, where you fill it, and then it makes a form and becomes a critical part of the building. This is that phase because you cannot be doing jack of all trade and master of none. You are more or less now trying to become that level of, you are building that level of specialization. If you are going to be, I don't know, an IT person, you are now trying to say, okay, these are the qualifications that I will need to be able to get this kind of roles in the next few years. If you are also, because at this point, you're also becoming a leader, in what you are doing, because you've been able to build a lot of years in trying to know what works for you and what does not work for you. Then you're able to now say, okay, this works for me, I want to capitalize on it. Because at some point, if you're also in between jobs and you're trying to, and I see that, you spend 1 year, I don't know, maybe doing website designing, the other year doing maybe, I don't know which popular roles are there. There needs to be some level of consistency. Of course, it doesn't mean that, the same job title, everything, no. But there should be within some level of ecosystem, it should be similar. So if you have done product manager, now you're a product owner, and then maybe you are moving into Scrum. There's a trajectory. But if you are doing product manager today, and then tomorrow you are going to do a lab scientist, you're so far apart. So this is that stage where you are now trying to, ensure that you are building some level of competencies and building some level of credibility, consistency. Of course, you can always leverage your mentorship to guide you in this phase. But it's also important that at this phase, you are also not just sitting on your, let's say, I found it, I'm sitting down there. No, if you have opportunity to also reach out, do it. So in the previous slide, I mentioned that, okay, after my stay in the telecoms industry, I moved to the banking industry for a few months, and then I moved out for my master's program. I would say that was a very good direction for me, because immediately after my master's program, for me, it was okay. Now I have done an international MBA. I'm able to also compare what is obtainable in Nigeria, what is not obtainable in Nigeria, from a master's point of view. The question is now, what is the next thing? And in order to be able to still find myself in that international space, I was looking for opportunities to still take me out, because I also do not just want to come back to Nigeria and then just get mixed in the crowd. I wanted to find something that would help me carve better my niche. And what I, by the grace of God, was able to find was I found this program called Africa Comes. So Africa Comes is a capacity development program that helps to bridge the gap between Africa and Germany. Now, there are some set of individuals that are selected from Nigeria to Germany. You work over a period of time. You learn the German culture, the German way of life. In some instances, you stay back in Germany. In some instances, you come back to Africa or to Nigeria or wherever you're selected from in Africa, and then you become part of the organization in your own country. In my own case, I came back and I started working in Bosch. And this is 2015. I'm still in Bosch up until now. And I'm within the same ecosystem. Bosch, again, as I mentioned, is there are different organizations within that. But within the organization I am, it's also, I would say, it's a good platform to advance across different roles. For me, this is like trying to carve out a niche for yourself. What do you stand for? After you've been able to take these advanced skills, what is your own personal brand? This is where you'll be seeing that, oh, this person is a strategy consultant. This person is a I don't know, website analyst. Is a project manager. Why? Because he has been able to do similar roles in the past in different capacities, different organizations, maybe even different locations. It's not so about jumping. It's not about how many jobs. Again, so two things again. So at some point you need to also define, do you want to, but irrespective, if you want to build, you want to make money, you can jump from pillar to pole, of course, within the same level of relevance. However, if you want to also build a career, you need to also be a bit much more intentional about it. And to break the bubbles, if you want to build a career, you cannot make as much money as if you want to make money and then jumping from one organization to the other. Of course, it's also dependent on what you want. In some instances, your market value even changes faster if you are moving from one organization to the other. On the other hand, you are able to, build depth in experience when you are staying quite longer in an organization. So it depends. But the most important thing is that you are carving a niche for yourself. If you stay 2 years, 3 years in an organization and you want to move, of course you can. It's only important that, okay, it's within the same ecosystem. Then you are able to say, okay, different organizations and the likes. Because this is critical, when you are also trying to breach out and move into different, I would say, countries or organizations that have global footprints. So I would wrap up this slide. This is my penultimate slide by saying that at this stage in your career, to have some level of relevance or to be able to easily succeed where you find yourself in any part of the world, it's important to also have some level of USPs. What exactly is your own A game? You also want to find some level of relevance across different locations. It's not just one side. And this relevance I'm saying could be either you are bridging out from a career point of view or bridging out from an academic point of view that gives you that level of understanding to knowing, okay, what exactly is my counterparts doing in other locations so that you can mirror it. You also use that time to also check what is your value to know whether you are underpaid, overpaid, or you are really not putting out or getting as much as you can from a particular location. So that will be my message on this slide. And then my final slide. So here it's about professional, senior professionals being strategic influence, having some level of strategic influence, and I'll say a bridge into global expansion. And this initial maybe picture here is just giving you the point of view that yes, it's also not out of place for you to be able to say, okay, I want to go here and here and here. The world is a global place. I have not visited all the countries in the world, but it's not a bad thing to aspire. And from a career point of view, of course, you have already now carved a niche for yourself. You have been able to build some level of credibility because you will not get here, immediately after university. No, you will still need to build some level of credence, proving your worth, in terms of depth and breadth of the organizations that you have found yourself, because this is where, there is going to be some level of impact, either from an operational point of view or from a strategic point of view. Now, there is a framework here that I wanted to just share with you before I wrap up. And this, I would say, has helped me. And it's about when you get to this stage, I would say maybe I'm in my early periods in this phase of my career. And you will be immersed with so many things. There's so many information because a lot of people will be dependent on you. People are coming to you to just ask for one level of direction or the other, guidance or the other. Sometimes they are in a crossroad and they need somebody to be able to tell them that, okay, move in this direction, because you, maybe as the senior professional, you are seeing things from a top level. You are, of course, you are coming from an operational point of view, but you are now moving to strategic. So you are easily able to say, okay, what you are doing now, I've been able to see maybe in the next 2 or 3 years what it's supposed to translate into. So they are coming to you for strategy, for direction. And it's a lot of information at one point or the other. Now, what I believe has helped me in this regard is you need to be able to prioritize. And prioritization, I think, is a word that has been used over and over, but it's about the application. And this 1801 matrix, for me, has helped me. And I found this metric, or I got to know about this metric through one of the career spotlight that I'll tell you about. Now, here you need to be able to differentiate. There would always be things that are urgent, and there would always be things that are important. Now, the first quadrant is saying what is important and what is urgent. What do you do in that regard? And again, maybe just put a caveat. You don't need to wait until this professional level before you use these things. You can always use it in your daily life. Anything that is important and urgent, you need to do immediately. In some instances, you cannot even delegate. You have to do almost immediately. So, important and urgent is more or less a definition of critical. Then, anything that is important but not urgent, it can be rescheduled. You need to be able to, okay, it's important. Maybe there are some other things that are more urgent right now. I need to attend to them, and then I come back to this particular thing later on. And then there is urgent, but not important. Here, you can delegate. You can tell somebody to support you with them. Maybe not necessarily, somebody else might have similar skill sets. So you can always tell somebody to please support you, because the idea is that you are reducing as much pressure on you as possible. Because as you move up in your career ladder, you are not able to get into the details. You will wish, but you cannot, because you need to be able to define the strategy for the organization. And finally, there are some things that are not important and not urgent. These are distractions. So there are some things that are, again, nice to have and must have. Some of those things that are nice to have, they might be distractions. So it's not everything that you have to do. So the applications and understanding of where to apply what based on these classifications, I would say, is also important as a skill to have when you are also finding yourself, in that global corporate environment where it is not about the number of things that you do, but it's also about the quality of your deliverables. So here, maybe a message and maybe a final note. So here, it's a bit challenging for you to be able to say, oh, this is what you need to, because every organization have some kind of talent development program. So they are able to identify talent and then they are able to nurture those talents in such a way that, they are priming them for future opportunities. If you are in an organization, I think it's important that you also be able to challenge those organizations, challenge the HR, maybe during your career conversations on what are the developmental programs that are available to individuals within the organization, and try as much as you can to make sure that you are given the opportunity to be part of them. Because I have been part of some of them in my organization. I would say these are life-changing opportunities. Aside from the quality of training that you get, you also get to, yes, travel, and you also get to meet people that ordinarily you will not be able to meet. So it's important that, yes, as you also, because here you are now getting into the details of adding more value to the organization. And having access to these trainings helps you to build your competency, not just what you can apply within the organization, but also outside. So the message I would like to pass across to you is that please ensure that at this stage, I can't confirm how many of us are here. It's important to be able to build our strategic thinking skills, and also to be able to understand the trend of things. How is your business evolving? What are the impact of now Donald Trump is president? What is the impact on your business? What is the impact on Africa? This is more really top level and not really in the little tiny details. The little tiny details can be managed based on this. When it gets to important and urgent, then you can manage it. But any other thing, you need to be able to identify the best approach to be able to manage those situations. So, in a nutshell, different approach or strategies can be applied across different phases of our career. The ultimate goal is having or building those competencies that are going to be relevant for us to succeed in a global marketplace. And again, you don't need to wait until you're a senior professional to be able to build this. No, you build all these skills, across different phases or pillars of your development. Because at some point, what you have learned as an undergraduate is going to be relevant for you. If you are not able to do apple for apple comparison, it's going to build your mindset in such a way that, you will be able to relate that, something like this has happened before, and eventually you realize that you are more or less ready. So this will be a wrap from my side. Thank you very much for listening attentively.